Moving to any country can be a challenge for any new immigrant, especially for a new immigrant who has never left their home country. Hi guys, welcome back to another video. If you guys are new here, my name is Dems, a Jamaican immigrant living here in the beautiful province of Alberta, Canada. In today's video, I will be doing a story time for you guys, and I will be sharing some of the stuff that I was shocked about when I just moved to Canada. Now, quick background guys, when I moved to Canada, coming up on 6 years now, I have never traveled outside of Jamaica before. This was my first time traveling outside of Jamaica when I made the brave decision with my family to move to Canada. So of course, I had a lot of expectations in my mind, many of which was derived from personal experience, what I've seen on the internet and YouTube videos just like this, like you are watching, and also through movies and as much research as I could have done. But there were still some of the stuff that really shocked me. And these are some of the things that I will be sharing in this story time. If you guys haven't already subscribed to my channel, and you guys like this kind of content, these kind of conversations, please take a second, hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you like the conversation, or if you can relate to what I am saying, let me know by hitting that like button. Again, leave your comments and share your experiences in the comment section. Now take it back to 2019. I came to Canada as an international student. So let's start with what are some of the things that shocked me as a student when I just landed. So back in Jamaica, when you go to college, a lot of times you develop a relationship with your classmates. Your classmates become your friends throughout the duration of time that you're studying. Now, when I moved to Canada, I expected the same. That was the first culture shock that I got. The fact of the matter is, your classmates are there to get their education and they're not there to make friends. And that was something that really caught me off guard when I just moved to Canada as an international student. I was in group with a lot of persons doing group work together. And then as soon as the group work ended, it's almost like, who are you? Almost like they don't know you anymore. And you're expecting like a hi or to sit and have lunch together and stuff like that. And that was a rude awakening for me when I just got here in Canada, to the fact that persons are very, I wouldn't say selfish, but persons are very focused. Persons are very focused on their own goal. And if it's the same in the workplace, it's the same in an apartment, it's the same in your overall community. Like I've lived in apartments where I didn't even know my neighbor. I don't even know my neighbor's name. I've now bought my house. We're now living in our own house and we've been living here for over a year. And I still don't know my neighbors on each side. I don't know their names and stuff like that. That is a huge culture shock for me because in Jamaica, we come from the same community. We have something to relate with. We're automatically, if not friends, acquaintance. We go to school with somebody, we're in the same class especially. Then that's common ground for us to start a friendship and to build some form of relationship. But here in Canada, it's a lot different. And that was something that really caught me off guard when I just got here, because we are friendly by nature. As Caribbean people, as Jamaicans, we are friendly by nature. We see a stranger on the street, we're trying to talk to them, we're trying to say, hey, good morning, good afternoon, good night. It's not the same here. It's not the same, and it can be a culture shock for a lot of persons when they try to say good morning and then they realize that that's not the culture here. If you guys can relate to what I'm saying, please let me know that I'm not going crazy by commenting in the comment section, and let me know that I'm not the only one who has experienced these things. The other culture shock I got was in the workplace. Now, coming from a country like Jamaica, which, when in retrospect looking back now, is a very conservative culture when it comes down to dress code, your appearance at work, and stuff like that. Now, when I got to Canada and I realized that you can call your boss, your manager by their first name, you can call your teacher by their first name, and also that it doesn't matter the job, but like for example, you can have as many tattoos on your arm and shoulder and all over, and you can have piercing on your face and on your ears, and you can change your ear color, and you can really self-express yourself in the workplace. That was a culture shock, because I am from a culture where you're in the workplace, you have to refer to your boss as sir and miss and Mrs. And never dare you call your boss by their first name. And also to talk about the tattoos and stuff like that. Having a tattoo in a country like Jamaica, you have to cover it up in order to work in certain businesses. You have to cover it up to work in certain workplaces. And when I got here and I see like even the doctor has his arm full of tattoos, and the nurses, and you're in the bank manager is the same thing, and the tellers have their, and you're like, in Jamaica, like if you're working in a bank especially, you have to make sure that you are wearing like 3-inch heels or 2-inch heels or whatever the case may be, or you have to wear the uniform, and your ear have to be a certain color, and you can't have tattoos, and you can't have too much piercing and all of these things. And especially when I started working in a bank and I'm wearing jeans and sneakers and t-shirt to work, and I'm like, I can take some of this. I like this. That was a culture shock for me. It's not as conservative as a country like Jamaica is, and it really allows persons to self-express themselves. And you're in the workplace, and your bank manager, your teacher, your lecturer, whatever the case may be, you're calling them by their first name, yo. That was like appalling to me when I just got in school and I'm talking to the teachers. I'm like, hey, Miss Smith, and everyone is looking at me weird, like this guy must be new, because everybody else is like, hey, oh Jackie, how is it going? Yada. Listen, I was not prepared for that. Now, talking about the same workplace culture and even the school culture and the community culture is swearing. Like in Jamaica, we call it cuss bad word. Swearing is like almost like the norm in Canada where I'm at. And that was a culture shock for me, because in the workplaces, like everybody swears, and I see instances where customers and staff is talking and everybody's swearing, and the boss is there as well, swearing as well. And I'm like, listen, that was something that caught me off guard, because like I didn't prepare for that. I didn't expect that, because I'm from a culture where the use curse words is actually like very disrespectful and very degrading and seen to frown upon. But here it's like almost like the context in which it's used, but not so much the use of the word. So in other words, it can be offensive as well. It can be kind of degrading as well. But it all depends on the context in which it's used. The word itself is not so much an issue, but as much as the context in which it is used. But in a culture like Jamaica, it doesn't matter the context. As long as you use the word, it is degrading and disrespectful and all of those fancy terms. So that was definitely one of the culture shock that caught me off guard. The other thing that I would like to say that I learned about very quickly is the Canadian smile. The Canadian smile is a real thing. The Canadian smile is a real thing. And a lot of immigrants watching this right now, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. But I also know that I have a lot of Canadians who watch our channel as well. And you guys might not know what we're talking about, because I've learned over the years to see things from both sides of the spectrum. Now, from the Canadian side of the spectrum, it's trying to be polite. It's trying to be polite. But from the immigrant perspective, it's like, you are gaslighting me. In the fake smile, let's talk about it. That's what we call it as immigrants. But for the Canadians, the polite smile. And this is when a Canadian predominantly sees an immigrant or someone they perceive to be an immigrant, and it doesn't matter how close or how far they are, they look at the person and they're making eye contact with the person and they do something like this. If you guys know, you know. Now, as an immigrant, it seems like you're gaslighting us. So my advice would be just to wave and say hi, or don't do nothing at all. Just don't stare, right? But for the immigrants as well, my advice to you is to be more understanding that really and truly it's coming from a place of love a lot of times. A lot of times it's coming from a place of love and just politeness, and it's not polite to just stare and wave, because as a Canadian culture, what I've realized is that Canadians are very reserved. They are not very outspoken. You see, like, for example, like Jamaicans, like you and I watching this right now, if somebody offend us, we're going to go straight to the person, we're going to go straight to the source, and we're going to say, hey, I didn't like the fact that you did that to me. I don't like that. I don't like you. Whatever the case may be, we're very outspoken and we're very direct. But for the majority, Canadians are very reserved. They don't like confrontation. They're going to beat around the bush. They're going to tell their friends. They're going to tell everyone else. They're going to silent beef with you. They're going to do everything but except coming to you directly and tell you what's on their mind. And that caused a lot of friction a lot of times between immigrants and Canadians as well, because as immigrants, we're very outspoken. And we try to be very direct with love and with respect, and sometimes not even with love and respect. Sometimes like somebody offend us, we know business how you feel, we're gonna come to you and we're gonna tell you. But from a Canadian perspective, they don't like confrontation. They try to silent beef. They try to do stuff, and you yourself have to try and figure out, did I do something to offend this person? Is this person offended by something that I did? You don't know. And especially because a lot of Canadians who I have personally met, and this was also a culture shock for me, they are very, very, very thin-skinned. They're very thin-skinned. Yeah, I know that we are very thick-skinned. And by we, I mean immigrants oftentimes, because a lot of times we are coming from cultures that is not very sensitive to mental health and person's well-being and stuff like that. And we say a lot of things just without thinking about the other person. So sometimes we are too thick-skinned. But for Canadians, a lot of who I've met, they're very fragile for such a term. So if you go to them directly and say you don't like something, it's like almost like they're so offended by it that they oftentimes just feel offended. When all you're trying to do is to just bring across a point. But Canadians who I have met, I've been very reserved and easily offended. They are pretty fragile. Guys, let me know in the comment section if this was a culture shock for you guys too, or if it is just from my perspective and I'm the only one who have experienced these things. Let me know in the comment section. And also, if you guys agree with what I'm saying, let me know by hitting that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. Now, another thing that really caught me off guard was how difficult it was to get your first job, my first job in Canada. Now, before coming to Canada, we thought that Canada was really the land of opportunities. And yes, there's been a lot of opportunities in Canada. And for a new immigrant, the opportunities are endless. However, to get that first Canadian job might be a challenge, because a lot of times we have established ourselves back in our home country and we're expecting a direct swap. But then I learned very quickly that your experience back home, whilst it might count for something, depending on the sector, depending on the industry, really and truly that Canadian work experience is valuable. And that is what a lot of persons look at before they hire somebody. So get your first job can be a very challenging feat. So if you are coming to Canada as a new immigrant, please be prepared to know that, okay, then it might be a challenge for you to get that first job, because your Canadian work experience is key to growing and key to developing. So know that that first job might be a challenge. But once you break down the door, what I realize is that once you get through the door, it's a lot easier. But that first, we all remember our first. Let's be honest. We all remember our first. So that first one might be a challenge. And for me, that was a culture shock, because my reality versus expectation was way off. And again, that was predominantly down to the fact that I have never traveled before traveling to Canada, and this would have been my first experience outside of Jamaica. So my expectations were right up here, was up top, was real way above my head. And then I quickly learned that right down here, right? And then I'll end this video by talking about, there's many other things I could speak about, but I want to talk about something that really shocked me and my family, and we were almost victims of this when we came to Canada. Actually, I'll give you guys two more before I end this video. If you want to see a part 2, please let me know in the comment section as well, and I'll be happy to do another part of some of the things that shocked me when I came to Canada. Now, what am I talking about? The thing that really shocked me is the amount of scams that take place in Canada. I was not prepared for that. Now, Canada can be perceived as the land of the scam, meaning that you are going to be attempted to be scammed at least one time per week, per day, or even per month throughout your life here in Canada. Like, as soon as you get a new phone number, as soon as you get your phone, you're going to start getting called. Like, there's so many attempts to scam you here in Canada. And we ourselves were almost a victim of this. My wife, she applied for a job on Indeed. Persons reached out to her, sent her a picture of a check, all of those things, and we were not prepared for that. We were not prepared for that. Luckily, we caught on to it and we weren't scammed. But listen me, don't let it catch you off guard. There is a lot of potential scam and fraud that could possibly affect you in Canada, especially as a new immigrant. That was something that really caught us off guard. We were shocked about that actually. That actually caught us way off guard. And the other thing that I'd say really shocked me, and no, I'm sure that a lot of you guys watching this video right now, one of the things that really shocked me was the amount of homelessness and drug use that takes place in different communities in Canada. Again, I was not expecting that. I came with great expectations of a perfect society, even though I know, so before you comment and say this, I know there's no perfect society, but I'm telling you what I expected. In my mind, that time, expectation versus reality, I was not expecting so much homeless and drug use to be such of a big problem. A lot of communities in Canada, in Alberta, is struggling to grapple with the fact of drug usage and homelessness. And this was something that I really saw as a culture shock when I just landed in Canada. Now I'm kind of get used to it. I know what thing is right now, but back then it was really a culture shock for me, and that was something that made me realize quickly that it's not a perfect society. And don't have perfect expectations, because there's no perfect world, there's no perfect society. And the quicker you can learn that, the better it is for you and your family. Again, guys, if you guys have resonated with anything that I've said, if you guys agree, let me know in the comment section. But also let me know by hitting that like button on this video. Subscribe to the Andersons family if you haven't subscribed already. We want to take our numbers as high as possible, but we cannot do it without you guys, right? So support us by doing these things, liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and leaving your comment. These are all free things you can do to support us. And again, Happy New Year if you guys are seeing my face for the first time for 2025. All the best for the year, and I will definitely see you guys in the next video.